Hello everybody, this is Refresh and I am here to bring you a pre-release battle between these two pre-release sealed decks from Core Set 2021. We'll be playing the best of 3, and over here we have a Mardu deck, and over there we have a Naya deck, and you can see the builds for these decks in the links provided in the description box below, and we'll go ahead and roll some dice to see who goes first. Mardu rolls a 7. Naya rolls a 6. Mardu will go first. We'll draw 7 cards. Mardu draws a Baneslayer Angel, Archfiend's Vessel, Mind Rot, Faith's Fetters, Silver Smoke Ghoul, Swamp, and Plains. It's not great, but I think we can still keep this one. Naya draws 7. Naya draws a Mountain, Basriket, Plains, Scorching Dragonfire, Solemn Simulacrum, and Mountain. I think that this is fine. We'll go ahead and keep it. Mardu will start with a Swamp. We'll tap the Swamp, and then we'll play the Archfiend's Vessel. This is a 1/1 human cleric with a lifelink, and when it enters the battlefield, if it entered from your graveyard or you cast it from your graveyard, exile it. If you do, create a 5/5 black demon creature token with flying, and then Mardu will pass the turn. Naya draws, gets a Plains. Go ahead and play the Plains, and then Naya will pass the turn. Mardu untaps, draws, gets Plains. We'll play the Plains. And then Mardu will attack with the Archfiend's Vessel. Naya can't block, will lose 1 to go to 19. Mardu gains 1 from the lifelink and goes up to 21. And then Mardu will pass the turn. Naya draws, gets an Idol of Endurance, will play the Mountain, and then Naya will pass the turn. Mardu untaps, draws, gets a Swamp, will play the Swamp. We'll go ahead and attack with the Archfiend's Vessel again. Naya takes 1 and goes to 18. Mardu gains 1 and goes up to 22. Then we'll tap these 3. We'll cast the Silver Smoke Ghoul. This is a 3/1 zombie vampire. At the beginning of your end step, if you gain 3 or more life this turn, return it from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped, and you can pay 1 and a black and sacrifice it to draw a card. And then Mardu will pass the turn. On Mardu's end step, Naya will tap the Mountain and the Plains. Will cast Scorching Dragonfire, targeting the Silver Smoke Ghoul. This is an instant. It says it deals 3 damage to target creature or planeswalker. If that creature or planeswalker would die this turn, exile it instead. This exiles the Silver Smoke Ghoul, and Mardu's turn ends. Naya untaps, draws a Goblin Arsonist. Naya will play a Plains. We'll tap the Mountain, and we'll play the Goblin Arsonist. This is a 1/1 Goblin Shaman. When it dies, you may have it deal 1 damage to any target, and Naya will pass the turn. Mardu untaps, draws a Thieves Guild Enforcer. Mardu will play the Plains. And then Mardu will tap 3 mana and cast Mind Rot. This is a sorcery. It says target player discards 2 cards. We'll target Naya. Naya will discard the Idol of Endurance and a Plains. We are okay with losing the Archfiend's Vessel, so we'll attack with the Archfiend's Vessel. Naya will block with the Goblin Arsonist for a trade. The Goblin Arsonist will die and will ping Mardu in the face for 1. That 1 is nullified by the lifelink from the Archfiend's Vessel. The Archfiend's Vessel will die, and then Mardu will pass the turn. Naya untaps, draws, gets a Mountain. We'll play the Mountain. We'll tap these 4, and we'll cast Solemn Simulacrum. This is a 2/2 artifact golem, and when it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a basic land card, put that card onto the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle your library. When it dies, you may draw a card. We'll search for a forest. We'll put it onto the battlefield tapped. We'll shuffle. And then Naya will pass the turn. At the end of Naya's turn, Mardu will tap the Swamp and cast the Thieves Guild Enforcer. This is a 1/1 human rogue with flash. And when it or another rogue enters the battlefield under our control, each opponent mills 2 cards. As long as their opponent has 8 or more cards in their graveyard, it gets +2/+1 and has Death Touch. We'll have Naya mill 2 cards. Naya mills a Daybreak Charger and a Goblin Wizardry, and then Naya's turn will end. Mardu untaps, draws a Swamp. We'll play the Swamp. We will tap out, and we'll cast the Baneslayer Angel. This is a 5/5 angel with flying, first strike, lifelink, protection from demons and dragons, and then Mardu will pass the turn. Naya untaps, draws a Vryn Wingmare. Naya will play the Mountain. And we don't have a good way of protecting ourselves from the Baneslayer Angel. So we'll tap 3 mana and play the Vryn Wingmare. This is a 2/1 Pegasus with flying, and non-creature spells cost 1 more to cast. And then Naya will pass the turn. Mardu untaps, draws, gets a swamp. Mardu will play the swamp. We'll try to close this out as fast as possible. So we will attack with the Baneslayer Angel for 5 in the air. Naya won't block, we'll take 5 and go to 13. Mardu will gain 5 and go to 27. And then Mardu will pass the turn. Naya untaps, draws a Plains. This is a race that Naya cannot win, but we'll try what we can. Naya will play the Plains, we'll tap 3 mana and play Basri Ket. This is a legendary Basri Planeswalker with a +1 ability that says put a +1/+1 counter on up to 1 target creature. It gains indestructible until end of turn. For -2, whenever 1 or more non-token creatures attack this turn, create that many 1/1 white soldier creature tokens that are tapped and attacking. And -6, you get an emblem with, at the beginning of combat on your turn, create a 1/1 white soldier creature token. Then put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. We'll go ahead and use the -2 immediately to take Basri to -1. We will attack with Solemn Simulacrum and the Wingmare, which will immediately create 2 1/1 soldiers that are tapped and attacking. Mardu feels unthreatened by this damage. We'll take all 6 and go to 21. Then Naya will pass the turn. Mardu untaps, draws, gets a Village Rites. Mardu will go to combat and attack with the Baneslayer Angel into Basri. Basri dies. Mardu gains 5 life from the lifelink and will go up to 26. And then Mardu will pass the turn. Naya untaps, draws, gets a Scorching Dragonfire. Naya will assume with everybody but 1 soldier token. Mardu will take it all and go back to 21. Then Naya will pass the turn. Mardu untaps, draws, gets a Plains. We'll play the Plains. We will go to combat and we'll swing at Naya. Naya takes 5 and goes to 8. Mardu gains 5 and goes back up to 26. And then Mardu will pass the turn. Naya untaps, draws an Alpine Watchdog. Naya will go to combat and swing with everybody. Mardu will take all 6 damage and go to 20. Naya will tap 2 and cast an Alpine Watchdog. This is a 2/2 dog with Vigilance. And then Naya will pass the turn. Mardu untaps, draws a Swamp. Mardu will play the Swamp. Mardu will swing with the Baneslayer Angel again. Naya takes 5 and goes to 3. Mardu gains 5 and goes to 25. And then Mardu will pass the turn. Naya untaps, draws a Plains. We will go to combat and attack with everybody. Mardu will take 8 and go down to 17. Naya will pass the turn. Mardu untaps, draws a Crypt Lurker. Mardu will attack with the Baneslayer Angel for the win. Naya dies and loses to the bombiest of bombs. That is the end of game 1. We will do some sideboarding if there is anything, and then we will be back for game 2. For game 2, Naya will opt to go first. Naya draws a Scorching Dragonfire, Unleash Fury, Idol of Endurance, Plains, Goblin Wizardry, Daybreak Charger, and Windscar Crag. I think that this is not a great hand because a lot of our attack creatures aren't here, but it is a playable one, so we will keep it. Mardu draws the Archfiend's Vessel, Mind Rot, Windscarred Crag, Liliana Wake of the Dead, Swamp, Thieves Guild Enforcer, and Blood Glutton. This is not a great start, but it is an acceptable one, so we will keep it. Naya will begin by playing a Windscarred Crag. It is a land, enters the battlefield tap. When it enters the battlefield, you gain a life. You can tap it for red and white. We gain a life to go up to 21. And then Naya will pass the turn. Mardu draws a Grasp of Darkness. We will play the Swamp, and then we'll tap it, and we'll recast the Archfiend's Vessel. And then Mardu will pass the turn. Naya untaps, draws a Plains. We'll play the Plains, and then we'll tap both of these and play the Daybreak Charger. This is a 3/1 unicorn. When it enters the battlefield, target creature gets +2/+0 until end of turn. Will target itself, and then Naya will pass the turn. Mardu untaps, draws a Basri's Acolyte. We'll play the Windscarred Crag tap. We'll gain a life to go up to 21. And then we're going to hold steady, and we will pass the turn. Naya untaps, draws a Vryn Wingmare. Naya will play the Plains. Naya will tap 3 mana, and we'll cast the Vryn Wingmare, and then Naya will pass the turn. Mardu untaps, draws, gets a Fetid Imp. And then we'll tap 2 mana and cast a Fetid Imp. This is a 1/2 imp with flying, and you can pay black to give it death touch until end of turn. And then Mardu will pass the turn. Naya untaps, draws a Concordia Pegasus. Naya will spend 3 mana and cast Scorching Dragonfire, targeting the Fetid Imp. The Fetid Imp is exiled. Naya will swing for 2 with the Rin Wingmare. Mardu takes 2 and goes to 19. Naya ends the turn. Mardu untaps, draws, gets a Falconer Adept, and then will attack with the Archfiend's Vessel. Naya will decline to block, will take 1 and go to 20. Mardu gains 1 and goes up to 20, and then Mardu will pass the turn. Naya untaps, draws a Radha, Heart of Keld. Naya will swing with the Daybreak Charger and the Rin Wingmare. In response to attacks and before blocks are declared, Mardu will tap the swamp and cast the Thieves Guild Enforcer. Will target Naya to mill 2. Naya mills a Heartfire Immolator and a Plains. Will block the Charger with the Enforcer and trade. Charger dies. Mardu takes 2 and goes to 18. Then Naya will tap 2 mana and cast the Concordia Pegasus. That is a 1/3 Pegasus with flying. And then Naya will pass the turn. Mardu untaps, draws, gets Crypt Lurker, cannot cast anything, and so Mardu will pass the turn. Naya untaps, draws, gets a Mountain, will play the Mountain. Naya will attack with the Rin Wingmare for 2. Mardu takes 2 and goes to 16. Naya will pass the turn. Mardu draws, gets a Plains, will play the Plains. Still cannot cast anything, and so Mardu will pass the turn. Naya untaps, draws an Alpine Watchdog, will attack with the Rin Wingmare and the Concordia Pegasus. Mardu takes 3 and goes to 13. Then we'll tap 2 and we'll cast the Alpine Watchdog, and then Naya will pass the turn. Mardu draws, gets a Scorching Dragonfire. Mardu will tap all 3 mana and cast Scorching Dragonfire, targeting the Rin Wingmare. The Wingmare is exiled. Then Mardu will pass the turn. Naya untaps, draws a Mountain. Naya will play the Mountain. Naya will attack with both creatures. Mardu will take 3 and go to 10. Then Naya will pass the turn. Mardu untaps, draws a Swamp, will play the Swamp. Mardu will spend 4 mana and cast the Falconer Adept. This is a 2/3 human soldier. When it attacks, create a 1/1 white bird creature token with flying that's tapped and attacking. And then Mardu will pass the turn. At the end of Mardu's turn, Naya will tap 4 and will cast Goblin Wizardry. This is an instant. It creates 2 1/1 red Goblin Wizard creature tokens with prowess. Here are our Goblin Wizards. Then Mardu's turn will end. Naya untaps, draws a Goblin Arsonist. Naya will swing with everybody. Mardu will block one of the Goblin Wizards with the Falconer Adept. Naya will tap 2 mana and cast Unleash Fury, targeting that blocked Goblin Wizard. It's an instant. It says double the power of target creature until end of turn. This will trigger the prowess on both of the wizards, making them 2/2, and then will double the power of this Goblin Wizard, making it a 4/2. That'll trade the Goblin Wizard with the Falconer Adept. The Falconer Adept goes down, and Mardu will take 5 damage to go to 5. Naya will play a Goblin Arsonist, and then Naya will pass the turn. Mardu untaps, draws a Baneslayer Angel. Mardu will spend 4 mana and cast Basri's Acolyte. This is a 2/3 cat cleric with lifelink. When it enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 other target creatures you control. We only have 1, so we'll put it over here on Archfiend's Vessel. And then Mardu will pass the turn. Naya untaps, draws a Vren Wingmare. We will attack with the Concordia Pegasus for 1 in the air. Mardu takes 1 and goes to 4. Naya will tap 3 and cast another Vren Wingmare, and then Naya will pass the turn. Mardu untaps, draws a Plains, will play the Plains, and then we will tap everything, cast the Baneslayer Angel, and then Mardu will pass the turn. Naya untaps, draws an Alpine Watchdog. Naya will spend 2 mana and cast another Alpine Watchdog, and then Naya will pass the turn. Mardu untaps, draws a Makeshift Battalion. Mardu will attack with the Baneslayer Angel. Naya declines to block, will take 5 and go to 15. Mardu gains 5 and goes to 9. Mardu will then spend 5 and will play the Blood Glutton. This is a 4/3 vampire with lifelink. And then Mardu will pass the turn. Naya untaps planes. Naya will hold the planes, and the Idol of Endurance won't help, so Naya will pass the turn. Mardu untaps, draws a Rise again. Mardu will attack with the Baneslayer Angel and the Blood Glutton. Naya senses something fishy going on, will block with Alpine Watchdogs and the Goblin Arsonist. Mardu takes the trade with a Blood Glutton, prioritizing the 2 Watchdogs. First strike will damage will hit, and Mardu will gain 5 to go up to 14. And then the Glutton will trade with the Watchdogs to get Mardu another 4 life to go up to 18. The Glutton will die. The 2 Watchdogs die, and Naya loses 5 to go to 10. Mardu will spend 4 mana and cast the Crypt Lurker. This is a 3/4 horror. When it enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice a creature or discard a creature card. If you do, draw a card. We will sacrifice the Archfiend's Vessel, and we will draw a card. We draw a Concordia Pegasus, and then Mardu will pass the turn. Naya draws a Basriket. Naya will spend 4 mana to cast the Basriket. We will +1 Basriket to go up to 4 loyalty to put the +1/+1 counter on the Goblin Wizard. The Goblin Wizard gains prowess and indestructible, making it a 3/3. And there's no point in attacking because it'll just run into the Crypt Lurker, and so Naya will pass the turn. Mardu untaps, draws a Mountain. Mardu will swing with the Baneslayer Angel into Basri. Naya chumps with the Concordia Pegasus. Mardu gains 5 to go up to 23. Then Mardu will tap out and cast Rise again, targeting the Archfiend's Vessel. This is sorcery. It says return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. This will trigger the Archfiend's Vessel's ability. It'll exile, and then we'll get a 5/5 flying demon creature. And then Mardu will pass the turn. Naya untaps, draws a Turret Ogre. Naya will tap 4 and cast the Turret Ogre. This is a 4/3 Ogre Warrior with Reach, and when it enters the battlefield, if you control another creature with power 4 or greater, it deals 2 damage to each opponent. We don't. Then we'll +1 Basri to put a +1/+1 counter onto the Turret Ogre, making it a 5/5 indestructible. And then we will pass the turn. Mardu untaps, draws a Village Rites. Mardu will spend 3 mana and cast Grasp of Darkness, targeting the Turret Ogre. This is an instant. Target creature gains -4/-4 until end of turn. This kills the Turret Ogre. Then Mardu will attack Naya with both of the flyers. Naya will chump the Baneslayer Angel, losing their Vrynwing Mare. Will take 5 to go to 5. Mardu gains 5 to go to 28. Mardu will tap 3 and will play the Makeshift Battalion. This is a 3/2 human soldier. Whenever it and at least 2 other creatures attack, put a +1/+1 counter on it, and then Mardu will pass the turn. Naya taps, draws a Plains, will play the Plains, will spend 3 mana and cast the Idol of Endurance. It's an artifact. When it enters the battlefield, exile all creatures with converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard until Idol of Endurance leaves the battlefield. You can pay 1 and a white and tap it. Until end of turn, you may cast a creature spell from among those cards exiled with Idol of Endurance without paying its mana cost. We will exile the Vrynwing Mare, the Concordia Pegasus, the 2 Alpha Watchdogs, and then we will spend a white and a red and tap the Idol of Endurance to cast the Vrynwing Mare. And then we will tick up the Basri Ket to put a counter on the Goblin Wizard, which also gets another +1/+1 from Prowess this turn and is a 4/4, but we need to hold back for defense, and so we'll pass the turn. Mardu untaps, draws a Swamp, we'll play the Swamp, go to combat and swing with the Demon and the Baneslayer Angel, and everybody else as long as we're at it. This will put a +1/+1 counter on the Makeshift Battalion, making it a 4/3. Naya will block the Crypt Lurker with the Arsonist, the Makeshift Battalion with the Goblin Wizard, and the Baneslayer Angel with the Vrynwing Mare. But we will still die to the Demon and the Acolyte and lose. And that is it. Naya is defeated in straight sets with Mardu winning. Let me know what you thought about these games in the comments below. If I made any major rules errors or misplays, also let me know so that I can learn from your wisdom. If you enjoyed this, hit the like button. If you'd like to see more of my videos, you can hit subscribe. And if you had anything resembling a Core Set 2021 pre-release experience with real cards, also share your experiences in the comments below. It would be nice to know what you did. This was Refresh. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.